The Virginia State Police, officially the Virginia Department of State Police, is a U.S. state law enforcement agency, conceived in 1919 and established in 1932, that acts as the state police force for the Commonwealth of Virginia in the United States. The agency originated out of the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles as an inspector and enforcer of highway laws. It is currently one of 14 agencies within the Cabinet Secretariat of Public Safety, under the leadership of Secretary Brian Moran. History: in 1919 the Virginia State Police was conceived with the passing of the Automobile Acts, which state that the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles and his assistants were vested with the powers of a sheriff for the purpose of enforcing the provisions of the law. The Secretary of the Commonwealth continued to be responsible for this regulation. The burden of enforcement remained with sheriffs and constables in counties and police officers in the cities and towns. In 1919 the Motor Vehicle Act was passed, creating the first title laws for Virginia motor vehicle owners. In 1932 inspectors became empowered to enforce criminal codes, as well as motor vehicle codes. In doing so legislators created a state enforcement group with the power to arrest anywhere in Virginia. A mobile enforcement agency was now ready for duty wherever civil strife or emergency conditions might exist that would warrant police personnel to ensure peace and security. It was at this time that inspectors began to be known as troopers. On November 3, 1938, an executive order from Majors Bishop and Nicholas officially adopted the title of State Trooper. The purpose of this was to identify specific members of the Division of Motor Vehicles performing the role of inspector and motorcycle deputy. On March 14, 1942, the General Assembly abolished the existing Division of Motor Vehicles and created two separate agencies, the Division of Motor Vehicles and the Department of State Police. The act called for a position of superintendent for the state police and a commissioner for the Division of Motor Vehicles. Major C. W. Woodson Jr. was officially appointed as superintendent for the state police. Training is divided into 4 phases. Phase 1, 2.5 weeks of training mainly focusing on firearms, defensive tactics and basic law. Phase 2, probate phase, probates are assigned to an FTO for a minimum of 4 weeks. During this phase probates are exposed to the daily activities and duties of a Virginia State Trooper. Phase 3, this training phase consists of 26 weeks. Phase 4, during this phase new troopers are assigned to a FTO for 6 to 8 weeks. Organizational structure: the Department of State Police is primarily divided into 3 bureaus: Bureau of Field Operations, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and Bureau of Administrative and Support Services. Department of State Police, bureaus, divisions, areas. Uniform and equipment: the standard class A trooper uniform consists of a light gray-colored button-up shirt, with long sleeves in winter and short sleeves in summer. A black tie is worn with a long-sleeve shirt. Patches are sewn to each sleeve. Gray pants with a dark blue stripe down the sides are worn year-round. Black Clarino shoes and Sam Brown belt, without cross-strap, gun belt are worn with a uniform. A black semi-gloss straw campaign hat is worn year-round. A modified winter fur cap can be worn in the colder months. A dark blue dress blouse and standard black Clarino Sam Brown gun belt, without the cross strap, are worn for special occasions. Dark blue work jackets are utilized for colder months. Black commando sweaters, or woolly pulleys with proper patches and rank can also be worn by troopers in cold weather. Sergeants and first sergeants wear silver, outlined in blue, chevrons showing their rank on both sleeves. Lieutenants and above wear their rank insignia on the shirt collar. Issued weapons: troopers are issued the SIG Sauer P229.357 SIG dark pistol, the Remington Model 870 12-gauge shotgun, and a Colt M4 carbine patrol rifle. Previous issued weapons: SIG Sauer P229 DAR SA.357 SIG issued from 1997 to 2004, SIG Sauer P228 DAR SA 9mm issued from 1993 to 1997. Smith & Wesson Model 1026 10mm DAR SA 5-inch barrel stainless semi-auto pistol issued from 1990 to 1993. Smith & Wesson Model 64.38 caliber 4-inch barrel stainless steel revolver issued in the mid-1970s to 1990. Colt Officers Model .38 caliber 4-inch barrel revolver was used from 1967 until the mid-1970s. Colt Official Police .38 caliber 6-inch barrel revolver was used up until 1967. Thompson submachine gun .45 caliber used from the 1930s until 1974. Issued vehicles: the department has used many different makes and models since its inception. Patrol cars: prior to 1928, inspectors only used automobiles once they had seized a vehicle used to transport illegal whiskey and it had been released to the division for enforcement purposes by the courts. Fords became the first issued patrol vehicles in 1928. In 1932 white Chevrolet Roadsters and white motorcycles were purchased and became known as the Great White Fleet. Fords and Chevys were the main staple of the patrol force in the 1930s and early 1940s. In 1945 post-war acquisitions of police vehicles were rare and troopers made arrangements to purchase vehicles wherever they could. Buicks and Pontiacs supplemented the fleet until auto manufacturers resumed normal production. In 1948 the department adopted the distinctive blue and gray paint scheme for all vehicles. Later in 1952 reflective markings were adopted and used for all marked vehicles. Those same markings are still in use today. During the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s the department purchased Fords, Chevys, Chryslers, and Plymouths for use as patrol cars. Fords and Chevys were mainly used in the 90s and 2000s. Dodge Chargers were introduced in the fleet in 2006. Red emergency lights were in use until 1985 and then were replaced with blue emergency lights. Bar lights were phased on to vehicles in 1988, replacing the single bubble gum light. Trooper decals were added to the front fenders of patrol cars in 1998. Also in 1998 the department adopted Ford Silver, replacing the gray in the traditional paint scheme. Only the hood, ceiling and trunk were painted blue. This was due to budget constraints and let Ford stop using that particular gray paint. Slick-top Chevrolet Impalas were put into use beginning in 2001. 7 slick-top 2002 Chevrolet 9C1 Camaros were put into service in high-traffic areas in 2002. In 2006 the department purchased 30-plus Hemi V8 Dodge Chargers and for the first time since 1948 adopted new graphics for the marked and slick-top Chargers. Current budget restraints prohibit the new markings from being implemented onto the standard fleet. In 2008 the Virginia State Police's Dodge Charger was Law & Order magazine's Police Vehicle Design winner for state and federal agencies. In 2013 the Ford Police Interceptor sedan was added to the fleet of Virginia State Police vehicles since the Ford Crown Vic model ceased production. Rank structure: Bureau of Criminal Investigation, Lieutenant Colonel, Major, Captain Lieutenant First Sergeant, Senior Special Agent, Career Progression, Special Agent. Fallen officers. See also: List of law enforcement agencies in Virginia, State Police, State Patrol, Highway Patrol, Virginia Capitol Police. References. External links: Official website, Chronological History of the Virginia State Police.